Very good morning, dear students. I welcome all of you for the today's session. And in the previous session, already we have started the discussion of chapter 2, that is collection of data. And also we have discussed about what you mean by data and what are the sources or the types of data. There are two types of data. One is primary and secondary data. In that, in order to collect the primary data, there are several methods. In that, mainly three methods we have started discussion. In that, first one is personal interview. Already we have discussed in the personal interview how to collect the primary data and what are the advantages and disadvantages of primary data. And also we have discussed what do you mean by questionnaire method and how to frame the good questionnaire, and also we have discussed the merits and demerits of questionnaire method to collect the primary data. And in this day or in today's session, we are going to discuss about the third method to collect the primary data, that is nothing but telephone interview. Under this, the third method is telephone interview. Here very simple. The concept is very simple to understand. Already we know that primary data in the sense the data which is originally collected by the investigator, and in the same way to collect the primary data, the investigator can use the most useful method, that is telephone interview. Here the investigator going to use to collect the data that in a telephone way, that is called as telephone interview. Once again I am repeating, here investigator if we use to collect the data through a telephone. Under this method, the investigator used to collect the information or data through a phone contact. Are you understood? Here the investigator used to collect the information or data from the respondent through the contact of a phone call. Through the contact of a phone call is called as telephone interview. Whenever the investigator will be contact the respondent with the help of phone in order to collect the details or information relating to his statistical study or analysis will be called as telephone interview. Under this method, the investigator collects the information or data by the respondent through contacting through phone contact is nothing but telephone interview. Your telephone interview refers to, or under this method, the investigator or the agent will be collect the information or data relating to his statistical survey by the respondent through is known as telephone interview. While using the telephone interview, in order to collect the primary data, we can enjoy both the advantages as well as we have some of the disadvantages while using the telephone interview. Now we'll start discussion of what are the merits or advantages and what are the demerits or disadvantages of telephone interview using in the collection of primary data. Merits and other side demerits, or we can also call as advantages and disadvantages of telephone interview. Under the merit, the first point is while using the telephone interview in a collection of primary data is always cheap cost. Otherwise, we can also say it's a less cost. The telephone interview is not more expensive. It is useful when we have a less budget to collect a primary data. That's why the telephone interview's most advantage is it requires the less cost. It requires less cost or money. And second one, it consumes less time. It takes less time or it consumes less time in order to collect the large number of data or in order to cover the large respondents. When we use a phone call, we don't need to meet directly to a respondent. With the help of phone call, we can connect anybody easily without contacting or without traveling to meet them. And it will be helps to reduce the cost as well as it helps to save the time or it requires even the less time. Conduct in a short time. In a short time. Within a less time, we can able to cover all individuals or large number of individuals with the help of telephone interview. That's why it requires this method of interview we can conduct in a short period of time. And next, one more advantage of this method is highly response rate. When we contact directly, maybe they will get irritation or they may be hesitate to answer some of the questions or few of the questions. But while contacting the respondent through a phone call, maybe they won't feel hesitate or they won't be nervous in order to answer the questions which we ask. So that the response rate compared to other methods, there will be high response for the telephone interview. High response rate. High response rate. Because here we won't see the face to face. That's why they won't feel any shyness or somewhat hesitation in order to answer each and every question. So that the response or the information which we need that can be collected very easily. And also this method, it means the telephone interview having a flexibility compared to other methods. Flexibility in the sense, if we use the questionnaire, the respondent used to answer for the particular question itself. Maybe he is interested or not. But when we contact the respondent through the phone call, we can maybe change the question based on the mood of our respondent or based on the effectiveness in the answer. We can able to change the questions to a primary data. Here the telephone interview having a flexibility. Flexibility in the sense we can able to change the questions based on the respondent mood or respondent responsible answers. Flexibility. And we will go to discussion of demerits of the telephone interview. Under this method, the first demerit is limited use. Limited use in the sense, here there is a one big drawback to use this method to collect the primary data. What is the drawback means? Who have a phone or mobile, we can contact them only to collect the data. And here maybe poor people, when we conduct the research related to poor people or related to farmer, maybe some of them will be having a phone and some of them will not be having a phone. Then we can't able to contact all the respondents with the phone call. Then this method of collecting primary data or the telephone interview will be the failure to collect the information of from an individual. And that is what it is one of the main drawback or demerit. What is that? The limited use. Limited use means who have a phone, for them from them only we can able to collect the information. It means we can't able to collect the data from all. Only from some of the people only we can collect the data who have phone or telephone or mobile phones. And next one, next most important demerit of the telephone interview is the reactions of an respondent we can't observe. The reactions are their facial expressions while answering to the particular question. We can't able to observe. Right now, only phone call through telephone interview, when we come to the contact of a respondent, we can only hear his voice or we can only audible his voice. We can't see the facial reaction of a respondent or individual. Reactions cannot be watched, and the third main limitation is there is a plausibility to influence the respondent. Here we can influence the respondent while collecting the information how we need it. Maybe the agency or the investigator can influence the person through a phone call to get the response in which way he is needed. Possibility of influencing. This is what merits and demerits while collecting the. This is what merits and demerits of an telephone interview. I hope all of you understood this concept. There are mainly three methods to collect the primary data. One is personal interview, mail questionnaire, and third one telephone interview. Here telephone interview is nothing but collection of data by the respondent with the help of phone contact. Is nothing but telephone interview. The telephone interview having both merits and demerits, or that we have already discussed. And next we will move to one more important concept, the type of data. Already we have discussed the data are being classified broadly into two types. The data broadly classified into two types. One is primary data and another one is secondary data. Now we have already discussed about the primary data, and we'll move to next concept, that is secondary data. second type of data collection is nothing but secondary data. Here all of you understood. Primary data refers to it's the information or data collected originally by the investigator for the first time and if used for his statistical survey, it will be called as primary data. Your secondary data refers to it is a data already being collected and used by some other agency or investigator, and if other agency or investigator use that particular data in his statistical analysis and that data will be called as secondary data. I will repeat once again. Secondary data refers to a data or information already being collected and used by some other agency, and if other agency or investigator will take that data for his statistical analysis, then it will be termed as a secondary data. For example, if I conduct research relating to the famous film star among the college students, for my research study, I will collect the data from each and every student in our district. With the same purpose, if somebody is conducting the research study, if they use the data which I have collected and used for my statistical study, if other agency will be collect that data and if they use for their analysis, then that will be termed as a secondary data. Somebody already collected and used for their purpose, and that data if other agency or investigator used for his own purpose, then it will be termed as a secondary data. Are you understood? And take a meaning. Secondary data refers to data which is already being collected and used by some other investigator if other investigator use this data for their research, it will be called as secondary data. Are you understood? Here, secondary data refers to data which already being collected and used by some other investigator, already collected and also used in for their statistical study, and if that data other investigator use for their research study, then it will be called as secondary data. It means second-hand data, already collected data. If we use in our statistical study, then it will be called as a secondary secondary data. Now we will discuss the next one more important topic, that is what are the sources to collect the secondary data. How we get secondary data, that will be discussed under this. The sources of secondary data. There are mainly two sources of secondary data. First one, published sources, and second one, unpublished sources of secondary data. First one, the sources of secondary data can be classified two types. In the first one, published sources, and second one, unpublished sources. Published sources and unpublished sources. Now we will discuss what are the published sources we can get the secondary data. Published sources. In that, first main important source to collect the secondary data is international publications or institutions. Publications or institutions. Here, international publications. Example, UN, United Nations Organization, and one more other branches of the UNO like IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank, and one more, WHO, World Health Organization, and some other agencies in an international level. They used to collect the data to know some of the facts relating to a world, and that information they used to publish to various websites or various reports. And if that reports are that information, the sources of information which we collect and use for our statistical study, then that will be secondary data. And the main source of secondary data is international publication. The information or data published by UNO, World Bank, IMF, and IDBI, and one more, World Health Organization. Whatever these institutions used to publish the data, that is also the sources of secondary data related to a world population. And one more important source of secondary data is government publications. Government publications. You all know that even there are some government agencies or government institutions are involved relating to a statistical study of a population of our country, namely census, NSSO, CSO, and RGI. Like that, there are so many institutions under the central government and state government are working to conduct some research relating to various economic problems are relating to a population. Whatever the information they used to collect, they used to publish through newspapers and some other books and all. And if you collect that data, then that is also called as one of the source of data, that is nothing but government publications. And second one, semi-government publications. We all know that semi-government in the sense state government, district commissions and taluk panchayats and gram panchayats are called as the semi-government organizations. Semi-government organizations in the sense gram panchayat, taluk panchayat and district commissions will be called as semi-government. Even this local government bodies also used to collect some data and they used to publish. And this is also one of the important source of secondary data. And one more, reports of committees and commissions. We all know that when there is some problems arise in the country, in order to solve that some particular problem, the governments used to appoint some committees and commissions relating to education, health issues, literacy rate, relating to literacy rate, and for relating to sex ratio and all. When the problems arises, the government used to appoint some committees and commissions in order to collect the details relating to a particular problem. After collecting the data and using for their purpose, they used to publish that information through various channels, and that data also can be called as source of secondary data. And one more source of secondary data in a published way is newspapers and magazines and websites like YouTube, Google. These are the examples for websites. Here, through newspaper and magazines like periodicals, monthly magazines or weekly magazines, quarterly magazines and yearly magazines used, and also some of the various websites, we can collect the secondary data relating to our statistical study. These are mainly 5 forms of published sources of secondary data. And now we will discuss what are the unpublished sources of secondary data. Here unpublished means which is the data is not published to a people. Like some of the organization, even government used to collect the details relating to a particular concepts in order to their personal use. That data they won't use to publish, and that kind of data will be called as unpublished source of data. Unpublished sources. Your unpublished sources means the data. Your unpublished source means the data collected by organizations, collected by the organizations or government for the office use, or self use is called as secondary data. Sources of secondary data in the unpublished sources of secondary data. The data which is collected by some of the organizations or government for the purpose of office use or self use, and even the diaries of some of the famous personalities is also be the source of secondary data. It won't be available in a public in the all the sense, but it will be available but it not be published. That kind of data is called as unpublished sources. These are the main sources of secondary data. The first one is published source and second one unpublished source. Under the published source, first one international publications are institutions, second one government publications and semi-government publications, and third one reports of various committees and commissions, newspapers, magazines and websites. These are the main sources of published data. And next one, unpublished sources means the data which is collected by the private organizations or government for their self-use or office use is called as sources of secondary data. Now we'll move to the one more important topic in this chapter, that is census and sample survey. One more important topic, that is census and sample survey. Census and sample survey. Census and sample survey. Here, I think all of you well known about the concept of census. Maybe you have heard the word in your locality. I will tell you the meaning. What is exactly the census? Here, very simple. Census is nothing but it's a survey which collects information from each and every unit of the population of a country. Each and every unit of population of our country. Census means it collects the information relating to each and every unit of population which is existing in our country. The main feature of this census is it covers every person who are existed in our country, and it covers each and every district, every state, every country, every person and every household, and it gives the exact information about demographical features of our country. Demographical features of our country. Example, what is the total population of our country and what is the sex ratio, it means male and female ratio, as well as what is the literacy rate, how many of what is the employment rate and what is the unemployment rate, and also what is the density of population, what is the urban population, what is rural population. Everything will be clearly known through census about the demographical features. It means relating to the population. Each and every concept we can come to know with the help of census. Here, in order to conduct a census, there are various institutions working under the central government and also the state government. What are the institutions and what is the main institution the government is using in order to conduct the census, that will be discussed completely now. Here, first you need to understand what is the meaning of census, and we will discuss what are the main institutions used by the central government or state government in order to conduct a census of our country. Okay? Now move to discussion of the meaning of a census. Here, census refers to a survey. Keep in your mind, census refers to a survey. Refers to a survey which collects the information, collects the data or information about each and every, each and every unit. Keep in your mind, each and every unit of, unit means every person. Each and every unit of population, population exist in a country. Exist in a country is nothing but census. Here census refers to a survey which collects the data or information about each and every unit. It means each and every person of a population or universe. Population we can also call as a universe. It means the total persons who existed in our country is also called as universe. The data which, the survey which collects the information about each and every unit of our universe or population exists in our country is called as census. Here the most important note is, or the most important feature of this census is it covers or it includes the information of an each and every person, whether they are in villages or whether they are in towns or whether they are poor or rich, whoever it is, it collects the information or data or opinions of every person of the country. And here, in order to, why we need to collect the information from each and every person in the country in the sense, here sometimes the central government or the state governments used to face some severe problems like economical problems or some of the social problems. In order to solve the particular problems, then maybe the government needs every information of that population or each and every person's information. Then for that purpose, the government have appointed so many organizations. In that, the first and foremost important organization is Census of India. Census of India. Maybe you have heard that word, Census of India. Census of India. The government have appointed so many institutions. In that first one, Census of India, even we have some other institutions under the central government. They are NSSO. NSSO. It means National Sample Survey Organization. NSSO refers to National Sample Survey Organization. And one more important organization under the central government is CSO, Central Statistical Office or Organization. Central Statistical Organization. Here, one more important institution, that is RGI. Here, Registrar General of India. Registrar General of India. And one more, DGCIS. Here DGCIS means Directorate General of Commercial Intelligence and Statistics. Directorate General of intelligence, intelligence and statistics, and statistics. These are the main institutions works in order to collect the data related to an entire country, and these are mainly works under the central government. In the first institution is Census of India. Maybe one mark they will be asked, what is NSSO? Expand this. They can also ask what is CSO? Expand. Or they can ask what is RGI? Expanded. Or also it's raise for one mark, that is DGCIS. I hope all of you understood the name of institution. These are the institutions for the government purposes. And in the first and most important institution is Census of India. Yeah. About the Census of India, how it's working and which places it used to work and what are the use while conducting the census in India, because census is started in 1881 and you used to conduct for every 10 years once. And what is the use in order by conducting the census and what are the advantages, that everything relating to a Census of India and relating to a National Sample Survey Organization will be discussed in the next section. Okay, thank you all of you for listening me. We'll meet in the next section.